Thank you so much for staying with us. We're still continuing this revenue divide where senators have failed for a record 7 times to come to a consensus. We'd like to hear from you. What is the way from here now? As one of the county residents, use the hashtag Daybreak at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Will sample some of your views. Joining me now is Senator Abshiro Alaki, who's also the chairperson, CMD Kenya. And later on, Moses Kajwang will be joining me, Senator Homa Bay, to speak about these same issues. Senator Abshiro, thank you so much for making time for us this morning. So what options are there now going forward?
Thank you, Trevor, and thank you for having me. There's lots of options for us. I think, as you heard yesterday, we're going to look at the different amendments that different members have proposed. As you know, we were working on the committee amendment that was an amendment of the CRA formula. So there's quite a number of options. The option is that we will look at the different, first of all, what the other improvements that other members have proposed, and then see, does it really take us to the next level? Does it mitigate against certain risks of loss of revenue to certain counties? Does it also set a precedent for future, non-discriminative actions with regards to allocation of revenue to different counties? And one of the things, Trevor, is that one of the reasons why we as senators are being very careful about this formula is that we don't want to set something that is going to disadvantage people going forward. And it doesn't matter whether it's the more populous counties or the less populous counties that are perhaps less developed, but really we want to get it right. So there's different options. We will look at, in the course of this week, we're going to look at the different proposals that are before us. As you can see, sometimes on the floor of the House, certain proposals are brought, but members are not able to really, debate and consider them, well. So that's the reason why that we thought let's deal with this properly. Let's get this right. So options are there, and we're looking at those options too, with a view to coming up with something that is going to be acceptable to everybody, and that's going to be fair, really.
I was speaking to Senator Maura just a few moments ago, and he told me that all the senators are doing is playing politics there, because they sort of there's a party position where most of you are just going to be whipped to decide that way anyway. So do you think is there any way that the Senate will come out with a deal that is a win-win for all?
Senator Maura, I respect him a lot, and he's entitled to his thoughts and his opinion. But of course, there's politics. We are politicians, and there's nobody that isn't playing politics. But you've seen in this case, people haven't followed political party positions. I, for instance, I'm in Kanu. My party boss, who also has other ambitions, has to be fair to everybody, and he has told us. He has given us the free hand to do what is right by our people, to do what is right by Kenya, and to be fair, and to put in place. And Trevor, the Constitution 2010 came about as something that was supposed to fix our below optimal legal system and moral systems, and therefore we're guided by it, actually, by and large. But I cannot rule out the fact that certain parties, are whipping along party lines, but certain leaders, like my party leader, for instance, would like to see that that justice is done for everybody, and for that reason, he has sort of let us, given us a free hand to support the positions that would support, our counties and would support the greater good for Kenya. So yes, there may be elements of that. This is a political, this is a political space. But so far, as you have seen, people that have, for instance, voted against the committee formula are across party lines, are across a lot of the other divides that across tribal divide. You've seen that. So I don't think it's very true to say that. And I think this is just something that people have stood up against, to say that we cannot continue, in the injustices that perhaps we have been trying to cure using our constitution, and anything that deviates from it, we're saying no to. And this is why, the whole idea of one man, one shilling, one vote which to certain counties is okay, is not okay for certain other counties, to say, let's look at all the parameters, because population cannot be the only thing that we're going to
Which
use.
is that is actually what I was about to ask you, Senator, because Senator Mwaura's position is that the one man, one vote, one shilling direction should be taken. And you just said that you are going to champion a position that helps all the counties and is a win-win. Which position is that?
That position is the position. For instance, when I don't know if you've looked at the amendment that Senator Sakaja has brought. That amendment has had a lot of consultation
Yes.
with the rest of us who don't subscribe to the one man, one feeling, one vote position. Remember, Trevor, our principles of public finance are set out in our constitution under Article 201, that they're principles that are supposed to guide our resource allocation, that public finance systems shall provide and promote an equitable society, and in particular, the expenditures shall promote the equitable development. So, we cannot just go on with a very simplistic one man, one shilling. And have we applied that same formula to every other resource? For instance, the 85% of the resources that are going to the national government, have we applied the same formula to it? We haven't, because the bulk of investments in the last 5 decades of our independence has been going to these same counties that are propagating the one shilling, one man, one vote. If you look at the burden of our the burden of and benefits of the borrowing, for instance, the debt that we have, where has the government invested these monies? It's not in northern Kenya, or the so-called shrubby landmass that is being said to not deserve this level of development. So you see, the constitution is very clear. The article 201C specifically, and allow me to read, says the burden and benefits of the use of resources and public borrowing shall be shared equitably. What's our public debt? We just increased the ceiling to 9 trillion. Where has that been invested? And has that servicing of those loans been used, the same principle of one shilling, one man? It hasn't. When investments have been done, has it followed the needs of the different parts of the country? No. The investments have been done along where, quote unquote, the more what do they call it? Like they said in the sessional paper number 10 of 1965, the high yield counties. So we cannot continue in that. The constitution came about precisely as a result of that, to cure that. And now we cannot go back on it. We must accept to give the rights to the people of northern Kenya, to the people of coast, and to the people of central Kenya as well. But it must be equitable, and not just to cherry pick what should be one man, one shilling.
Yeah. Senator, you gave me an argument, and I want to read it out to you so that you also give me your view. Senator Mwaura was saying that there's no way a county like Kilifi, where there are only 4 million people, receives 10 billion shillings, and a county like Kiambu that has more than 2.4 million people also receives the same amount of money. Because for him, he was saying that then that in itself is discriminatory to the people of Kiambu and gives advantage to the people of Kilifi. What is your argument against that?
Actually, my argument is this. People are, and this is unfortunate. Now, that's playing politics. And Senator Mwaura is right when he says it's because he's playing politics. We're talking as if we're just handing out money to people to use. It's like all other variables are equal. It is not. When you give to Kilifi and you say provide a service to a man from Kilifi, or a woman from Kilifi, or a girl from Kilifi, the cost of providing that service to that girl from Kilifi is not equal to providing the girl in Nairobi, for instance. If you wanted to tell a girl, go for a reproductive sexual or health, go and get that service. A girl in Kilifi that money might have to go and build a dispensary at the lowest level for her to go to before she can even access that service. So, and when you give, let's say, the 3,000 shillings that usually my Kiambu colleagues talk about being the per capita, for the girl in Kilifi or the girl in Isiolo, in my case, let me talk about my county because I know intimately what my county's needs are. That money will first go into building the dispensary. She won't have even the basic internet access or the basic 2G access to even call for help. She will have to travel by road or walk 100 kilometers or 50 kilometers to the next perhaps place. So the cost of providing service in Kilifi or in Isiolo is not equal to cost of providing service in Nairobi, for instance. So that per capita money they're talking about, which has been simplistic, has been made so simplistic, is not correct, Trevor. That now is politics. Because when you give these counties that amount, that is a bit maybe higher than some of the amounts that are being given to counties that are more developed, it's because for you to provide that service, you will have to put in place the infrastructure on which that service will be provided or that to carry that service. By the time then you get to that service itself, it's going to cost you so much more. So if we look at that, people are making it look like we're just being given money and all other variables are standing constant and that we're going to use that money for, equally. It is not true. For Isiolo, you will have to dig a road to get to the next service. So that cost is probably is a drop in the ocean for that matter. So it is not apple for apple.
Okay. But Senator, that argument presupposes that the people who are supposed to be accountable will be accountable enough to ensure that the money is used prudently. We've seen that is not the case in all the counties. In fact, some counties have an absorption capacity issues. They may not even absorb all the money that's sent to them. In fact, Senator Mwaura's argument was, why delay the horse for the donkey to catch up?
You know, that is the most unfortunate and the most arrogant statement. And this is not the kind of statement that will bring unity in this country. I condemn that statement, actually. And it's one of the statements that anger us and as Kenyans. No Kenyan is a donkey and no Kenyan is, all Kenyans, in my view, are horses and ready to bolt. For some Kenyans to look down upon others as donkeys is the very attitude that has brought about all the problems that we've had. The electoral violence, the suspicion, what shall I call it? The arrogance that has really locked out and excluded a lot of us, and that is the wrong attitude. But anyway, having gotten that out of the way, the issue of not using accountability should not be mixed up with the issue of resource allocation. The issue of accountability is the responsibility of all of us. Yes, we have oversight responsibilities. We take responsibility for ensuring that this is used properly. We will put in place the right systems. The national government and other government arms have responsibility. We have, Auditor General. We have the Office of, Controller of Budgets to control certain budgets. And in cases where lag measures that are going to check, backwards, such as audit offices, such as the anti-corruption offices, such as office of the DCI, if corruption is the case. So we cannot start putting these things together. These are two different things. We must divorce allocation of resources and equitable allocation at that from the issue of prudent use or issue of corruption. And it's not true that the 18 counties that have been disadvantaged in this formula are the only counties. And I'm not saying two wrongs make a right, but that said, you cannot use that argument on 18 counties. In fact, if you look at the counties that have had quite high-profile corruption cases and impeachments, it is not those counties. And we're not saying that those counties are not corrupt, and we're not condoning corruption. But these are two different processes provided in law, and institutions to take care of them are abound, are all over, including my own House of Senate. But so we cannot start putting all these things together and start bringing in these kinds of arrogant statements. When the sessional paper number 10 that was that in 1965 was precisely with that, saying let's give the high yield the horses to bolt. What has that given us? A country that doesn't have national ethos, a country that is so corrupt, a country that doesn't have shared prosperity. And these are the things that BBI was trying to resolve. And we cannot talk of resolving it within the BBI if we cannot resolve it within even the things we have control over that are happening right now, right? So again, this politics of Mother Raush must stop, to be very honest. We love our countrymen and women. And for as long as this attitude persists, we're not going to go anywhere. This country is not going to heal all the things that ails it.
Okay. Senator, there's a question here from Engineer Lazaro Kanyambok, who says, what's in this revenue allocation method that can't be discussed by the distinguished senators to a point of reaching a consensus? Is it about politics of Tanga and Kieleweke found its way into the parliament? Why is it so hard to reach a consensus?
That's a very good question. It is hard to reach a consensus if there's no goodwill to reach a consensus, Trevor. We must have the goodwill to reach a consensus. If the attitude remains of, very dismissive, and the attitude remains that of entitlement, and the attitude remains of donkey and horses, what consensus can be reached? We're not even going to speak the same language. We're already differentiating ourselves as not being likes, right? So again, consensus must be built on respect. Consensus must be built on people speaking the same language and people respecting each other. In the absence of that, what consensus can be built, surely? And the politics of Kieleweke and whatever notwithstanding, sometimes we use these kinds of things to defeat the underlying issues. This formula, from where I sit, is going to become. It's not going to become a solution. It's going to become a root cause of discrimination. And we're not going to allow that. We cannot allow discrimination to become systemic, because when it becomes systemic, it's going to be very difficult to cure. And this is why we don't want to be part of the people that are going to preside over mainstreaming discrimination, and nobody should rest comfortable when systemic discrimination is going to take root, because you don't know when it's going to be used against any of us, depending on whose interests are going to, or depending on, for whatever reason.
Okay. Senator Abdullahi Bash says devolution is the new structure that has created equity among Kenya, especially those that were left behind for over 5 decades. Senators must now negotiate for what is good for Kenyans, but also fair amongst counties. We have poverty in every county. Wisdom must prevail. So will this adjournment even help, Senator, as we wind up?
Whether it helps or not, again, I'm going to insist, is the goodwill and the respect we will have for each other and listen to each other. But that said, he's right. Of course, the Constitution was supposed to cure all the discrepancies and all the lacunas in law and in how we've done our business and in our economic structure. It will help. It's yes and no. If there's goodwill for us to really accept that, really, let's do right by the law. Let's do right, and ensure that discrimination doesn't become mainstream and doesn't become systemic. We will find a solution. And I agree, Ev, there's no county without poverty. There's no county without poverty. But do we also have equal opportunity for those counties or for those, clusters of poverty to get themselves out? Do we have the right basic infrastructure for it? And this is what equality is all about. Equity is all about. It's not just equal access; it's also equal opportunity. And what constitutes opportunity? The right systems being in place, the right access being in place. Trevor, let me just give you one example. In education, for instance, Our schools closed in March, right, because of the COVID. Schools in northern Kenya closed in January because of lack of teachers. And things are not the same. And this is why we're saying the places that have been left behind don't have the same equal opportunity. And to think that they are donkeys because probably they are lazy or they don't want to do stuff, and it's not true. It's because we don't have the same equal opportunity. And this is why the fight to make sure that there's equal opportunity in law and in practice, and therefore this formula becomes more than just a mathematical methodology to be applied to our resources. It becomes the principle on which a systemic correction of past injustices must be premised.
All right, Senator, thank you so much for that heads and tails of this quagmire that the Senate seems to be in. We'll see whether you come up with a deal now by Tuesday next week. But for now, we're taking another quick break here on Daybreak. When we come back, we're still making heads and tails of this conversation, but this time, we bring in a governance expert. David Osiani will be joining me in just a bit to make heads and tails of this discussion and find out from him and from his perspective, which is the way forward, right? And we'd also like to hear from you. I see there's still a lot of feedback coming through here. Engineer Lazaro Kanyambok says, the current method of one man, one vote, one shilling can't be sustainable at this moment. This method might add salt on the historical injustice on marginalized counties. We still have another final one here before I take a quick break. Jacob Abera Matlala says, good morning. My input on this debate about county revenue allocation, we need to be sincere on factors considered. It is not about population. Let every region enjoy the resources, not one man, one shilling narrative. On that note, we'll be back in just a bit. Keep your views coming at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. I'll sample some of them during this discussion until the end. All right, see you shortly.